This is why you'll never be in my apocalypse team.
I'm learning. Hey guys, welcome to the Realtor Chronicles. Today we're going to talk with my friend Josh Oakes. He's a contractor in Tennessee, and he's going to give us some knowledge and some stories about his life. How you been? Cheers. So how's your market's bad down in Tennessee? Horrendous is what I hear.
Horrendous.
It's hard. Is it hard to find, or is it like?
It's hard to find, and it's overpopulated.
Was it like this when you first moved down there?
It wasn't hard to find, and it was cheaper. So that was what did I move down there?
5 years back.
Yeah, about 5 years. So back then it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't nearly as expensive, and it also there was a lot more options. But now that everybody has moved there, it's really that took a toll on the game.
So you were trying to buy a house, but I know it kind of went south.
Yeah,
because of prices going up and all that.
Yeah, they want like $350,000 for a single family home, 900 square feet, no garage, like 1 bath, 2 bed in Laverne, which is the town I live, which is like, it's not a great area. So really not a whole lot of options unless you start looking outside of Nashville. But obviously the more you look outside of Nashville, the more commute time there is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So did you build any houses out there yet?
I've done a lot of renovations and additions, a lot of work on houses. We're typically not a new construction company. However, we do new builds if we get the job. Oh, yeah. But we stay mostly in a remodeling.
Now, or is this still taking a long time to get like supplies? I know up here it could take forever.
Windows and doors and all that are still roughly 6 weeks to 12 weeks out, depending. You can get like the Home Depot ones, but not if you have custom sizes, which almost every single house does. So, but yeah, I mean, the market's just, for building supply, is just crazy. Everything's marked up like 50% of what it used to be. So it's been exciting to see that grow.
Now, you're planning on staying down there, or are you trying to come up?
Undecided. I really don't care.
Are you so you were the first person I knew our age to have her own business. How was that for you?
It was an experience. Definitely didn't know my business side of it for sure. It was a real wake-up call when, you get taxed for your business and then you also have to pay like $10,000 in personal taxes. So it was eye-opening. It was hard. Definitely, now that I'm older and more experienced in what I do and everything, it's definitely a possibility in the future, but as of right now, I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and I have a lot more free time because I'm no longer running a business with my brother and trying to manage all that and work and try and get jobs and all that. So I would recommend doing it when you think it's time, but also to study up and get the business side down, because that is, at least in my industry, that is 95% of the hardest part for people, because a lot of us people who are in the construction trades don't have that experience with the business, which we're great at what we do. We never been put in that situation. So,
oh, damn, bro. How was So you did start your own business. What did you do before then?
So back how far?
How did you get started in construction?
So I used to drive C-class box trucks for a company in Downers. And I was doing that, and then I lost my license for that due to some bad decisions.
All right.
And I ended up just kind of ghosting my way away from that company and started working with my cousin, Danny, who had his own company. And we were basically subcontractors for him and his company. And we'd go out and build garages, barns, all that. So that's kind of how it all got thrown into that. It was just like kind of a freak accident. Like I never wanted to get into it, but I just ended up in it. And now I'm here, and I'm too deep to go back.
Damn. Now, you used to do like side jobs, like
Still do.
restaurants and stuff like that coming up, and then I remember you had your business, and then you moved to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now, did you still have your business in Tennessee?
I had the Oaks Construction in Illinois, and then when we moved, we transferred our business license to Tennessee, and we had to change our name because there was already an Oaks Construction down there. So we became Achilles Carpentry.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, for people that maybe want to start in construction, how much did you spend on tools?
You can never spend enough money on tools. Just like it depends really on your trade, what you're doing. We were doing a lot of framing and exterior siding and stuff like that. So it was mostly a lot of nail guns, and the more people you have on your crew. So we had I think 5 or 6 at one point. It was, everybody needs to have a tool in their hand. So we had probably when we first started, we had the 2 trailers, 2 trucks, all the saws, all the nail guns. We probably were, just in tools and vehicles and trailers, we were probably looking around like at least at the bare minimum like $100,000 worth of shit.
Now, how did you work your way up to that, or how did you get the money to slowly get there?
Well, so I started off with a truck, obviously. We bought a very sketchy piece of shit trailer that we slowly had to get rid of. But that's how we started off with that. We both had trucks, luckily. So that part was covered, but it was still a huge expense for us, obviously. And then just when I was working for somebody else, I would slowly just buy tools, things that I saw on the job site, even if I didn't know much at the time. Like, okay, well, my check's this much, I can at least put $100 towards something. And that's just the most important thing is invest in yourself, and always get the right thing for the job. For you, it's your business cards and your fancy jackets.
All right.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. How did you So after everything, did you start selling your tools off since you're no longer a company, or do you have all of them still and you're just kind of using them?
I still have all my tools. Me and my brother still have all our tools. Never sell your tools.
Okay.
Never sell your tools unless you are in crippling debt and cannot afford, food or your house. Then sell your tools. There's 2 things you don't sell: tools and guns.
Okay. All right. Now, what's your plan for down in Nashville? If you do end up staying, are you going to try to buy a house or buy a piece of land?
That really depends on the market.
Right.
If I do end up staying, I would love to buy a piece of land and go ahead and start building, a house, and then eventually maybe subdivide it and build a subdivision there, and then, or at least sell off the land and let people build on it, and then make my money that way. That would be great. The hardest part about that is putting 50% down for a piece of land.
Yeah.
Because that's a requirement in Tennessee. you have to have 50% down to buy land. Is that the same thing here?
I'm not too sure. I know you have to come up with more money on land,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually never looked into it. I know you have to put down more money if you're just buying land.
Well, yeah, but there's not really land up here.
There is. St. Charles, like out like Elgin, St. Charles, out of like the past neighborhood Aurora.
It's still it's still a very populated area, is what I'm saying.
There was a St. Charles for selling 43 acres. There was a $3 million house on it.
Yeah,
and they had to divide it up, and they're selling the land around it too. Well, they're selling one big package or separately.
Separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's how you make money, man. But what is that house on Boughton? That giant modern thing? You've seen it, right?
I'm trying to think.
The one that looks like the sore thumb. It's literally like probably 4,500 square feet. It's tucked back behind on the right side of Boughton. If you're driving east, you're going east down Boughton.
Okay.
And it's like about halfway between 355 and Lamont Road. It's right where the Welcome Center is, like right before, right after, I can't remember. But then you look to your right, it's big, black, modern, like square house with like this oval driveway. There's an excavator parked out in front of it at the guest house that I'm assuming he bought as well. But
I'm trying to think. I can't think of the house. I know there was
how you've been living here and you still I know this and you don't.
I'm terrible with streets. It's horrendous. I know the abandoned mansion. Someone bought it and they're like finishing it.
The one on
Kingery off Kingery Highway. Yeah,
it's like it was like a Arabic style, right? Are you talking about the abandoned like Saudi Arabian guys?
Oh,
mansion?
that one that flooded? So the one that's like all limestone or whatever?
Yeah, he built it and then like something happened.
It flooded. Someone left their water running and it froze. It flooded and froze.
Yeah, and then he was like,
he's gone.
I'm good with it.
They sold that too, but the other abandoned mansion off Kingery Highway.
The one that where y'all used to go to when we were kids and just...
That one sold and I think they finished that up. What else there was? I heard that, the Haunted Forest Walk?
Yeah.
You know how there's a house back there?
I didn't know there was a house back there.
It's gone.
Really?
I heard it's gone, yes. They tore it down. I was like...
What's going on here? Well, dude, I feel like more people are moving out of here, so it's like...
No, well, like every house that's for sale, like in Woodridge, it's selling pretty quick, man. Nothing's really staying on the market.
Just because people our age are finally, have money or...
But also, like, if it has to be, like, a decently made... Like, people our age don't want to, like, build... Like, they want to, like, put in the work to make the house nice. They just want to buy, like, a finished house, like... Or a house that's, like, all new, like, white cabinets and stuff.
See, and I'll tell you something. These new houses that they're building all over the place, like, especially in Nashville, they're like they call them the tall skinnies.
Mm-hmm.
They're, like, 3 stories, and they're, like, 30 feet wide at most.
Oh, for, like, the townhouses?
No, they're not even townhouses, bro.
Oh, here, we have those townhouses, like,
they
built
look like
that.
townhouses, but they're not. So, like, they're actual houses on plots, and they're, like, 20, 30 feet wide. So, not very wide, right? But it's, like, 100-foot shotgun style deep. And then they go up. And, dude, those are the worst built houses I've ever seen. Like, I drive past them, I'm just like, dude, I can't believe the inspector has passed this. Like, you have your first floor... walls, and this dude's got like a 6-foot window, and they got like a 2x6 header, which is supporting all the weight of the floors above. And it's just like the shit they're doing nowadays is that like that pass.
Have you seen like the...
It's crazy.
What's it called? Like the wood that like runs on the floor joists?
Yeah. So you have your floor joists.
So what's up with the ones that it's
the plywood?
Yeah, but it's like not even like fully like it's like. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, you're talking about floor trusses. So they have engineered floor trusses. So they're 2x4s on the flat.
Yeah.
And then they have
beams.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I've never seen that before.
Those are great. I love those.
Are they lighter than what?
No, they're. Are you thinking TGI? Or sorry, not TGI. They're called I-joists.
Okay.
They're plywood,
Mm-hmm.
1x2, 1x2.
Yes.
Yeah, those are
And then
super good.
there goes like a pattern between.
No, so you're thinking floor truss.
Floor
If
joist,
they
yeah.
have a
But I've like never seen this before.
not
Like,
floor joist.
and-
Floor joist would be like a 2x10 or like a 2x12, depending
Mhm.
on how far you're spanning. But floor trusses are manufactured. They have gusset plates.
Mhm.
They're designed by engineers. They're made in factories or not factories. What's the word I look for? Yeah, I guess like a prefab factory. So like truss companies and stuff like that, and they ship them out depending on what your plans say you need. So like you can design a house with an architect, and the engineer will go over everything, decide what needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're gonna say, hey, I need to use engineered floor trusses, and they're gonna go, okay, this is what you need. You measure it out, you go over the floor plans and everything, and you send them in. They'll pre-manufacture them, they'll label them. You can set them that way. It's a lot faster. It's also like it takes a lot of third-party information to do that. Whereas, no matter what, you're always going to have a structural engineer that's going to tell you that, hey, this is okay, this is not. So, and then you're going to have plans and blueprints and everything. And you're going to have specs and a packet like this with all your information on how to nail and all this and all that. I mean, if you know, you know. But, yeah. So you're thinking floor truss, which is, those are great. Now the eye joists, they're plywood, and the 1x2, 1x2, and they're awesome too. I mean, I hate them, but I also love them. Like, I like solid wood. I like being able to, use actual solid wood and all that shit. So I prefer a floor truss over an eye joist, especially because the the rim joists are easier to do. The same way.
No one's gonna know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's alright. We'll just delete it.
No. So what's like some interesting stuff you've seen in houses like that like made you like question it? If you could simplify it.
Here or in Tennessee?
Here.
Here?
Yeah.
Um.
What are some red flags? Like if you see it, you're like,
So anytime you look at a house and you're going to buy any kind of house, if you see, so on the outside, to try and simplify it, you have your roof, and then you have your soffit, which is underneath, which your gutter attaches to and everything, and then your soffit's under here. The thing that the gutter attaches to is called your fascia, or subfascia is underneath the fascia. If you see a big swell in that, so like if you see like a bow in it.
Oh, in your roof?
In the fascia.
Okay.
9 times out of 10, it's going to be because of foundation problems. So that's like the biggest thing I look for, like right off the bat. Like,
now, can you explain this again? Where it's the roof?
Grab me a piece of paper. Obviously not that dramatic, but if it has a significant like bow in the middle, that usually indicates some kind of foundation issue. So whenever I'm looking at houses, just in general, like I look at that, and that's the first thing I notice. Like, all right, so they have some kind of foundation sagging or some kind of structural sagging of some sort. So that's usually like the biggest red flag for me is like, probably not going to look at that, And if I do, I'm not paying full price for it. There ain't no way, because that becomes a huge problem. Because it can shifting in the floor, shifting in your walls. You know how you guys get like cracks in your drywall? It's because of foundation shifting. It's a huge thing, especially up here with the frost line and all that.
I got a crack in my foundation that goes from one side of the house to the other.
That's what I'm saying, man. And down there, they do a lot of cinder block foundations. So everything up here is mostly concrete. Like concrete foundations.
Depending on where you are,
Yeah. Obviously out in the country, it gets more like Tennessee. But they do cinder block foundations, but they core film. They're down on concrete footers and everything. And, they're pretty good. And they have crawl spaces, which are there's almost zero crawl spaces here. Like, it's rare. Like that one time on your last podcast,
Yeah.
you were talking about going into a crawl space. I couldn't believe it.
I can't believe it either.
Because there's very rarely a crawl space here. But every single house up there has a crawl space. Up there, I mean down there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean that's like one of the biggest red flags for me. And then anything electrically wise, that always gets pricey. Electrical, plumbing stuff, and then
Get right next to the mic.
I know, I'm sorry. Where were we?
Electrical stuff gets pricey.
Electrical stuff gets pricey.
Plumbing gets
Especially electrical stuff gets pricey up here because of the code, at least in this area. So obviously out in the country there's Romex and all that stuff you can use, but up here it's either MC cable or conduit, and man, that shit's insane. Like, you're running conduit.
Explain what conduit is.
It is the steel pipes that go into the boxes that you run your wire through.
Mm-hmm.
So down there you don't have to use conduit for anything.
You can use
for anything residential. It's all Romex.
So Romex is it's like plastic.
Like, imagine a extension cord without the plugins.
Mm.
That's all it is. But it's insulated and everything. It's super safe. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can it's a lot easier to mess up and cause problems with Romex. Like, you can kink it real bad, and that can be a potential hazard. And then, I mean, if the drywallers miss and screw into or they're using too long of screws and they screw into the wire, that could cause a problem and everything like that. But it's just efficiency, and it seems a little overkill for it to be all conduit up here in residential.
Mm-hmm.
So take it or leave it. Because when you start remodeling your house, if you got to add new circuits or you got to move boxes or whatever, you can use MC cable, and it's great. I love MC cable, but
what is MC cable?
Sorry, yeah, it's like flexible conduit with wire already in it.
Yeah. Okay.
From helping DG, I'm sure you've used that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that stuff, it's great. It's good. I like it a lot. Definitely prefer it over conduit. But yeah, I mean, if you open up walls and everything, just having to rerun everything, man, that's gotta suck. And bend a new pipe for everything. It's just,
how is it getting permits out? So do you have to get permits out in Tennessee to build?
Yeah, of course.
So now, is there
I mean, unless you get in some areas, there's always that place. There's always areas. I'm working on a lake house in Smithville right now. Mm-hmm. Ain't no permits out there. Ain't no permits. We're doing everything right, but there ain't no permits.
So I'm guessing more if you go in Nashville.
Yeah,
you have to pull permits.
Franklin's the worst, which is it's like a historical code thing. Everything has to be a certain way. It has to match. It has to look like the other houses. It's like an HOA on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've seen those in Aurora. Mm-hmm. Where I was my client trying to buy a house. Then we found out that they had it was a protected house, so they had to repaint everything, redo the wood. So I was fine, we can't afford this. I'm let's back out.
Dude, so we had a house we were renovating on east side of Nashville, which is historical district as well. And it was just so messed up that our company and our big boss was we need to start fresh. There is no saving the foundation or the wall, the exterior walls or anything like that. The historical code made us brace up the front wall. So there's nothing else on this house except for the front wall. Everything else is demoed and gone. And there's just this 2-story wall that had to stay there for historical code. And then we had to build around it and then build it back into the house. So we're talking literal 2x4s and stakes and braces just holding up this wall
until you were done.
Until we were able to tie it back into everything. That's how anal they are about that historical code. Which it doesn't make sense to me. Like, yeah, I get it's part of history there, but like we can also just build it back exactly the way it looked.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think it's going to be historic code for like houses built now?
I hope not.
Like in like 50 years, like listen, this house was built in 2020. Historic code.
Yeah. If they look like the modern ones, I hope they go bye bye.
You don't like the square houses?
Nah, man, they're ugly.
I think the roofs are ugly, like because they're usually
The TPO. It's basically like it's like a membrane and it's flat.
Yeah. I'm like,
they're stupid.
Because there was like we went to a house that was like an older house, but the next door was like a huge modern house.
Yeah.
But then you get those where it's like a huge modern house, and it's just like
there's always
an old house, and then like a huge modern house.
It's like if you go into the city now and they're starting to gentrify certain areas, and there's just this giant modern house next to these two rundown shacks next to it. You're just like, pick and choose your battles, my boy.
I don't even know. But damn. What else? Do you like working construction?
I prefer it over doing something like you do. No offense. Obviously, everybody has their niche.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand still and work with computers. I can barely send emails, bro. Like, if you get an email from me, you know my mom sent it.
I feel that though some days. Like some days I do wish I was like moving.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's active and there's wear and tear on your body, but that's with everything. It's both a mental workout and a physical workout at the same time, because it's a lot of problem solving. Because 9 times out of 10, things aren't going to go to plan,
Mm-hmm.
especially in remodeling. You open a wall and you're like, okay, well, this is going to be a lot more work.
So how do you have those conversations with the clients? Like when you open up the wall, and it's like you like told them it's going to be like $500 or like $1,000, and then you open up the wall and it's like, oh, it's going to be like a whole another 2-3 days of work.
Yeah, that's kind of like a conversation you have to have beforehand. Is like, this is how we're hoping it goes,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what our budget is for this. More than likely, we may run into an issue, meaning, we open up this wall that, you're trying to do an open floor concept, and
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to put it in a header or whatever.
What's a header?
So like an LVL or a beam,
Okay.
like something structural to hold the weight of a load bearing wall
Mm-hmm.
that spans X amount to X amount,
Mm-hmm.
and is supporting that weight. So we do a lot of that stuff, and sometimes you open up the wall and there's a wire raceway to the panel there, and you're like, we didn't know this was there.
Mm-hmm.
We had no way of knowing this was there until this happened. It's going to take a little bit more work to do, and this is what it's going to cost. So we can either do it this way, or we can come up with another solution for you. I mean, that's a very extreme example, though, because if they have an attic or crawl space,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, you can go in there and you can do your due diligence before you start doing a job, and like, okay, we're taking out this wall, locate where the wall is, see what's in there as best as you can, and then if there's some surprises,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be there's not going to be as many surprises as long as you do your due diligence, which is a huge thing as well. It's important to do, like, just do your job and make sure. But when you get like people who estimate and everything, some people don't do that, and that can cause a lot of problems and give the customer a lot of headaches.
So for hiring a contractor, what do you recommend? How do you do your homework on the contractor? What are some things to like keep your eye out on? So I know you're in Tennessee, so I can't be like, hey, here's Josh, call him up.
Oh, I'll come up here.
Okay.
Honestly, just look at their prior work. A big thing, at least for me, how I get a lot of my work, my own personal work off, away from my company that I work for, is through word of mouth. Word of mouth is huge.
Oh.
So I would recommend trusting the people that recommend the contractor to you. Sometimes you might get a bad contractor through somebody, but I mean, 9 times out of 10, if someone's recommending them,
They're probably pretty good.
yeah. And I mean that as in, like, hey, he did some work at my house, or he did something. Not like, hey, this is my friend. Like, he's a contractor. Like, yeah, hype up your friend, but also, if you know he's good at what he's doing. Like, also, I'm all there for the support and everything, but you just got to make sure you know what you're doing before I recommend somebody. So, definitely big red flags for contractors is not showing up when they say they will. That's a huge thing. Just stuff like that. Not showing up when they say they will. Non-responsive, especially if it's. I understand if it's a weekend or something like that, obviously, but also, it's your customer. Like, you're the first line of contract or contact. You have to be able to take those calls.
I felt excited. I had this furnace dude. Artemio, yeah.
Yeah, mechanical.
Yeah. Basically, I got him like 2 jobs, and I was like, and he's like super like happy, and I was like, damn, I need to start working with people more my age. I was like, I can see like that's how I feel like people grow. Like they work with people like their age and bring them up. Like Artemio like called me, he's like so like happy. He's like, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, me and my buddy Dalton down there. He used to work with my brother at Baker, which is the concrete company that builds skyscrapers. Dalton,
oh, well, I'll say like Baker. Like, what
they be doing some fucking crazy shit. Like
buildings.
They built the
buildings.
The skyscrapers, like 80-story shit. But he started his own concrete company, so I got him in with the company I work for. So he's our concrete guy. So anytime we have like driveways or foundations that need to be poured and shit like that, we call Dalton.
How's that concrete business? I hear it's a little.
No, concrete's rough, bro.
I hear it's rough in the body. It's heavy.
No shit. Concrete's heavy. It's just, dude. It's like.
And it dries out your skin.
It's super hard on you, and it's also like there's so many factors to it that it just is like something can always go wrong so quickly. Like the concrete truck doesn't show up on time, which almost always happens. They almost never show up on time. Or the pump breaks. That happened at one of our jobs. Fucking brand new pump company Dalton used for the first time, right? And we're just sitting there, being, the eyes and helping, because at that point, it's not our part of the job. We're just, we're there for support. They sent out a pump company. The owner was asleep in the truck of the pump truck. He had one guy that was experienced that was doing everything. He had one guy that was his first day ever, and they were running the pump. And the guy who showed up in the concrete truck was, I think it's like a viscular pump, or a concrete truck, which is where they mix it on site. His first day ever. Mixed the concrete wrong, clogged the whole fucking pump. We had to disassemble it like 6 times, clear it, reassemble it, pump it. It was a shit show. And concrete it's just, dude, it's like, in a lot of industries, you could be like, okay, we're done for the day. We reached that point. In concrete, there's no point. It's if concrete's on site, you're go till it's done.
Oh, because if it dries, it's done, right?
Well, it's drying, and like you can stop at a certain point. Like you have to finish the pour though.
If as long as it's moving, will it dry? So how's that work?
I don't know enough about the chemical or the science behind it, but yeah, it hardens. There's activators and all that different type of shit, and you have to wait. Like I think like roughly like depending on how much activator you put in and hardener and all that shit. Like after the fact, it affects everything obviously, but it is it's crazy, bro. Like, that is one thing I'm glad I do not do.
Would you ever do like small parts?
Yeah. Like, I've done small pads and everything, and like that's fine because it's like they have a machine that's basically like a giant bucket on tracks with an engine. And
Oh, yeah.
it steers, called the George buggy.
Mm-hmm.
And you fill that up at the concrete truck, almost full. Drive it, you dump it, you spread it, you vibrate it, get all the air pockets out.
Oh, you vibrate it to get the air pocket. How do they vibrate it?
They make a vibrator. Just imagine a giant dildo.
Okay.
Like a giant dildo on like a rubber stick, and you just throw it in the concrete and it just shakes. You can also just tap the form boards with like a rubber mallet if you want the edges to be clear, but that's not going to get the air pockets out of the middle. So use a vibrator.
Like always count. I'm just now starting to get like the whole since I got this watch. How to do it?
This is why you'll never be in my apocalypse team.
I'm learning.
You don't know north, south, east, or west. You don't know streets. You don't know time.
I know time. Streets, no way I'm dead.
No way I'm dead.
Brown moon, terrible.
I mean, you would definitely be the gatherer of the group.
I can plan.
You can plan. Yeah,
I can assemble.
You can cook and you can plan. That's valuable.
I can assemble a team. I might be the worst, the weakest link, but I can assemble a strong team. I can assemble a strong team.
Yeah. It's not hard when you know people like us.
I'll
have that whole team in shape.
just be leading from the back.
Shit.
Let's go. Josh Oaks, lead this team. I can find the leader. I can find the builders. I got it all. But like those old houses, it's not like cinder blocks. Like it's actual rocks. They just
it's called
concrete.
It's called the flagstone foundation. That was very popular back in the day. Dude. They used to literally just find rocks and stack them for a foundation. So in Franklin, I worked on a 1800s built jewelry store. Great customer, but we had to renovate the back like kitchen and bathroom. They tear out all the old poop pipes, which was disgusting, and they're old cast iron, so they're like breaking apart and heavy, and we're in a crawl space this big. But the floor joists, like they literally, it's called scribing. So like you scribe it to whatever material it's landing on. So like they literally scribed the floor joists.
What do you mean scribe?
Like they traced the rock foundation and then set it on top.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was a flagstone foundation, and it was structural brick, so all the walls were just brick that had been there since the 1800s and slowly settled. Like, it's crazy, bro. But then there's I did a side job in Gallatin, Tennessee, and this house used to be part of a bigger house. And back in, I think it was built in the 1890s, the woman said who owned it, her name was Ginger or something. Yeah, Ginger. And she said that it used to be part of the house, like a mansion, and the guy who owned it, when he got back from the war in the 1940s, he decided to move the house from the town square.
Oh, this is the... Okay.
Yeah. They decided to move the house from town square, and they cut it in sections and gave one half to one of the brothers and another half to the other brother, and moved them in different locations and like built foundation or structural brick foundations and set it on top. And I had to go in there, and the house, everything from the foundation is leaning in. So I had to rip up like 3 layers of flooring and subfloor, get down to the joists, and jack up the joist, re-level everything, and then make it structurally sound so that their flooring guys had a level surface to work on. And man, it's just like, old houses are great. I love them. They're like, they were built way better back then, but time is gonna beat them down no matter what.
Yeah.
So old houses are, another like kind of a red flag. Like if you buy an old house, you're gonna put money into it. You're gonna put a lot of money into it, especially if it's not like newly renovated. And even if it is newly renovated, if you got a shoddy contractor to do the work who doesn't care about, the actual bones of the house. He only wants it to, like a flipper.
Mm-hmm.
Flippers are notorious for that. They're like pay no outlets and all that. I bet you've seen a lot of that.
I see so much. Or like they don't finish the house.
Yeah.
It's like there's a bunch of stuff that like it's really nice, but it's like if you would have just taken like one more day of just detail, you could have sold this. It could have looked so much better. Like, or it'll be like they didn't paint or like they missed like a huge part. It's like what is going on? Or like they didn't cut something right. It's like what's like.
That's a huge problem there too. In Tennessee is one of my friends. She bought a house, and it was definitely a DIY flip. And the dude literally put like, you walk into the kitchen, and you don't need like in a room like this, you only need like 4 can lights.
Yeah,
like that's plenty of light. This dude did not know what he was doing. Put like 10 can lights all in a row, just like at the highest like lumen possible. So it's like walking in and getting hit in the face with the sun. And then you look at the backsplash, you try tiling for the first time, and like the mosaic tiles in, out, in, out, in, out, like crushed in, crushed out, crushed in, crushed out. He did the shower pan, didn't lay down a rubber membrane or a waterproof barrier, just put it straight on top of the wood floor. And it was just rotting out. She had to replace that like within like the first 6 months she owned it. Like the roof was leaking. Like he literally like slapped a coat of paint on it and some fresh new tile that he didn't know how to lay, and was like, "It's good, it's beautiful, right? This is what I'm asking." And she, in Tennessee, you don't need a home inspection.
Man,
P-break.